Hey there, welcome. This week we're going to be looking at some finals. I know Ruben and I are teaching and we're getting to that point where we're giving finals in our classes. And Ruben, first off, welcome.
Thank you.
And so Ruben, as you're looking at the semester closing, is there a final you're giving to your students? And maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that and just even the steps that you're following to give that.
I'm smiling because my department chair approached me and said, "Are you giving a final?" And I'm like, "Boy, am I giving a final? You're not." And she says, "Well, I'm going to give him something or other, but um, you know, it's not business as usual on one hand. So things have changed, but I am giving a final, and I break my finals in three parts. One part is the essay. There's a way I'm doing that now that's different in the past, but I do want them to know how to formally write something. They're 11th and 10th graders. I think it's necessary. Um, I've scaled that down a bit, but I do less essay writing stuff, but that's part of my final. There's a second part on their reading, the literature, inferences, theme, conflict. That's going to be in the final day of our semester in a couple of weeks. But I also have given them a final project. So this final project is kind of addressing the more creative side of them, because English language arts isn't just about grammar and punctuation and writing essays. How do we get them to also speak? How do we get them to create and to think in those terms? Um, so yes, would you like me to talk about my final project?
Yes, please. Sounds good.
I want to first introduce you to a book. If you have not heard of this, it is fantastic.
Hmm.
And here it is. Its title is Humans. And it has a follow up titled Humans of New York. Brandon Stanton went out and just took pictures. If you open up of people, if you open up this book, you will just see that it's a series of photos and over again of just interesting photos of people and their animals sometimes, and and they talk, and you could tell it's different. Sometimes you have a whole paragraph, and other times you just have a sentence, and you could tell he's prompted them to get them to talk and say some interesting things. But there's something about the photos that force people to want to read, even non-readers. So on one hand, it's a effective tool to get students to read. I'm getting so much talk about these two books, Humans and Humans of New York, that it made me think, what if I turn this into a project? Will students be interested in it? So I created this project called Humans of Granada, or Humans of the San Fernando Valley. And what it asks students to do is to go and interview people, but just kind of develop good questions so that they get the person to talk, and then to take their picture and create kind of a book displaying these photos and interviews. So, wow, is it popular? I think because on one hand,
That's
the
cool.
book's popular with them, but also they're having fun. If you could bring up the standards I shared with you, we'll briefly go over them, and you'll get a sense of what the point of the project is. It's not an essay project. So in the beginning, I give the description of what it is and who they interview. I give a requirement of 25 photos and 1,000 words with an introduction, not counting the introduction. And I point out to the students that those 1,000 words are not their words. It's people they're talking to. Notice that the standard is a speaking and listening standard. I think on first glance, people might say, well, they're not doing very much writing. They're just doing transcribing, because it's not a writing standard. We're already doing that with the essay. And the essay is going to be about the book they read, Persepolis. We studied Persepolis. But Um, Notice it says propel conversations by posing questions, responding to questions, probe reasoning and evidence, um, and challenge ideas and conclusions. So that's the encouragement, is to listen and to speak. So look at the objectives here. One of them is how do you develop provocative questions? So this is a skill in and of itself, because we did an interview project earlier in the year. It's not a typical interview where you just ask, what's your favorite TV show? What do you like to do for fun? This is how do you develop deep questions to get people to talk about real personal stuff at times. So if you look at Humans of New York, they are getting real. It's hard to, I mean, who has influenced you most in your life might be a prompt that's there. But one of these is, the first page I look up is the man starts talking. He says, I have third stage melanoma. How do you get someone to admit that? While you first start with developing those questions. The other thing that I've noticed that has been helpful with this project is the second objective. How do you approach strangers appropriately? Because students are very shy at times. They don't know how to approach people, and this is one way. Is I explain to them. I say, this is how I would do it. I'm doing a project for class. Would you answer some questions?
Mm.
And then we talk about the technology portion of it too. Do you see where it says sample questions? What's the one thing you regret the most in your past? What do you and your family fight about the most? Okay. So I'm very proud of these questions because these are not my prompts. A student developed these on her own. And she did it through a conversation we had in class of, how do we get people to talk? How do we get a little deeper? And so these are her own questions, her own prompts. And so remember, part of English is speaking, presentation, how to speak, and of course, how to listen. So I would show you the final result. By the way, I'm still getting them because the final isn't due till 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half from now. But what I'm seeing is this book on Google Slides. They've interviewed their friends. They've interviewed strangers, people they wouldn't, security guards at our school, police officers, teachers, and they're asking deep questions. They're learning, they're forming these relationships, and these kind of interactions that are appropriate. It builds in them confidence. And I told them when I assigned it, I go, hey, here's a bonus. You might meet somebody you've been wanting to talk to and get to know in a relationships, in a romantic sense. So look at it as a bonus in that sense. So I'm really happy with it.
That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, this is good for English teachers, but I mean, just even, I mean, a humanities course is perfect too as well, I think. And a sociology class. I teach that, so that might be something I could be doing as well. Thanks, Rube, for sharing that. And then you'll be giving this in the next week or two?
Well, I've already assigned it to them, but I'll be receiving it. I do want to point out,
receiving it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be. I put a due date. I want to point out within the directions of the assignment, I gave them a couple of due dates. The first due date was progress on final. I want to see progress. And I assigned that right away. I said, I need to see 2 photos and I need to see 2 captions or 2 paragraphs tomorrow, because once they start it, they'll get the rhythm of it, because they have to figure out, well, what am I going to use? What app, what tools? Let me get the first one out of the way. And we started in class. I even open the door and I say, interview somebody, go up to that security guard, go up to a teacher, go up to your friend, go up to an enemy. Not many of them are doing that, but this is, they show progress. And then I say, by next Wednesday, give me your first draft. I'm very big on drafts because I encourage them. I say, don't you want to know if you're doing this well? Don't you need feedback to see if this is
Mm,
an A project? It motivates them to give me that first draft, um, and then I give them feedback, and then they give their final draft in their that's due on the weeks of finals. So
very cool.
that's my final project. I forgot to add a very important part to the project. They're not just interviewing people; they're taking their picture. I don't think I made that clear.
Oh, okay.
So part of what makes Humans such an effective book is the pictures, the photos. So it really adds a dimension to their project. Their interview is just a paragraph. They transcribe what their interviewee said, their subject said, and they paste the picture there. And if they don't want their picture taken, they take a picture of their hands, a book in their hands, something that's, and so it really makes the presentation pop.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
just needed to add that because
No, no problem.
that's
Sounds
like the
good.
most important part, and I didn't add it. So, okay, everybody, thank you very much.
See you guys. Bye bye.